Hey everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I'm here to share this card that I made for my niece who's been sick for a while, and she's going to be starting a new job in about a week's time. And what she really needs to do, I think, is just stay at home and rest and make sure she's healthy for starting her new job. But instead, she's running around the city, having fun, going shopping, meeting up with friends, going out to dinner and whatnot. So I thought it would be fun to send her this get well soon card that had the message that I think I want to communicate to her, which is sit, stay, heal. I love puns, and I fell in love with this stamp set, which is from Art Impressions. It's called Doggy Kisses set, and it's really a get well soon card set. And I just fell in love with this cute little puppy cuddling with its teddy bear. And I thought the get well soon part could be the little box of tissues and the hot tea. So I added those to this little scene here. And for kind of putting together the card, I decided I was going to use some of my cross-stitched rectangles. I actually used the largest one this is from MFT for this little outside matted area. And then for the little scene in here, I used the MFT stitched rectangle set. This is the second to the largest I used for this inside layer. And then for this background piece, I used this We Are Memory Keepers Next Level quilted embossing folders, and I used this one right here. I love the idea that this is all cozy, comfy, warm, snuggly, like a little quilt. And I also had this little bit of pattern paper in my scrap box. So I used that for the bottom part here, and I also used it to paper piece the little tissue box. And I'm gonna go ahead and just attach here the process video of coloring up this little scene and paper piecing this little tissue box. I actually tried coloring that first, and I didn't like how that turned out. So I show you the process of paper piecing and shading that little tissue box as well. My niece is a dog lover like me, so I thought this stamp set from Art Impressions would be perfect for a get well soon card for her. And I'm just trying to figure out on this little scrap of white cardstock where I'm going to position the tissue box, the teacup, and then the little puppy. And I'm stamping this out with Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I'm going to be Copic coloring this scene. And I'm stamping it out twice using my Misty tool here. And I'm also putting on a little post-it note, which I will also stamp so that I can create a mask and have the puppy layered in behind the little box of tissues, at least the pillow area of the puppy. I don't want to cover up too much of the image, but I know it's going to overlap a little bit to the left of the tissue box. So that's why I am being careful to fussy cut around this little mask that I've created. And I'm not going to worry too much about the right side of the image in terms of fussy cutting because I know that's not going to be impacted by the stamping of the little puppy, which comes next. So now I'm going to position the little puppy laying down, snuggling with its little teddy bear, with its head resting on a pillow and its hind feet in cute little fuzzy slippers. And I prepped the stamp real quick with the oils from my hands, and I'm doing a stamping, and I didn't do a very good job. I didn't even get the lower slippered foot, so I am stamping it again. And I am an awful stamper, so this Misty tool is so perfect for me. And that's the little scene that I was able to create really quick just with a simple masking. And now I'm going to share with you guys the Copic coloring process of this little image. And I decided I'm going to make the puppy kind of like a golden retriever or a yellow lab. I wanted it to be a lighter colored puppy so I could see the details a little bit better. Plus, my niece's dog is actually a fair colored poodle, so I thought she would like a light colored puppy. I'm going to do the belly even lighter, so I'm starting with a pale yellow for the belly as the base color. And now I'm going in and trying to mark in the shadowed areas of the puppy. So I'm getting the underside of the paws, the underside of the front legs, the whole bottom part of the puppy altogether, underneath its jaw, where the cast shadow would be from the front ear. And now I'm going to do the same for the hind legs. I'm going to make sure that I get a rounded look, I'm going to add shadows where it's kind of the back leg is going to be a little bit darker, the lower parts of the leg, where there are cast shadows from where the teddy bear is lying. And now I'm going to do the kind of mid-tone color, and I'm trying to blend it out with that darker brown. And I'm glad it's not too dark, but I am feeling like it's not blending the darker brown with that lighter yellow of the puppy's fur. So I'm going to do some tip-to-tip coloring, and that is taking the darker marker in my left hand and touching the tip of the lighter marker with the tip of the darker marker, and that's the tip-to-tip, and that transfers a little bit of that darker ink to the lighter marker. And as the lighter marker is brushed onto the paper, it kind of blends, it bridges that gap of the color differences between the darker and lighter shades. I'm going to do a little bit more with just that darker marker, and now I'm going back in and blending out the lighter areas as well. I didn't want it to look too yellow. I wanted this to look like a golden. For the inside of the ear, I'm just using an R30, which is a pale yellowish pink. And now I decided that the belly was looking too yellow, so I wanted to add a little bit of a toned down yellow color there. If you're interested in the particular Copic marker colors that I used, I will be listing all of them in my blog post, which I will link to in the description box below as well. Now I'm going back in and re-emphasizing those darkest shadowed areas because, again, they're bleached out by the lighter color inks. These are alcohol markers, so as you add layers of color, the lighter colors can bleach out the darker colors. And so I always like to reestablish those darkest shades again and just repeat that process of reestablishing the shadowed areas. And at this time when I'm doing it, I'm trying to be a little bit more careful and using more of a flicking motion to get the texture of the fur in a little bit better. And I am trying to be careful so that all the light is coming from the upper right of the dog. So I'm hoping that I'm making all the shadowed areas consistently. And now I'm trying to bridge again the color gap between the lightest and the darkest browns. And I think I go through maybe one more time. I may do that off camera, but I'm just showing you guys the basic idea of blending back and forth from light to dark. I think I'm going back in here with the lightest color again, just putting in another layer of that ink helps blend it out. And here you see me going back in with the lighter brown colors. They're actually in the yellow family because I want this, like I said, to look kind of like a yellow lab or a golden. And now I've decided for the teddy bear, rather than trying to do another kind of tone of brown, I thought I'd give him a blue teddy bear. My dog has a blue little squeaky toy teddy bear, so I thought this would be perfect. And I'm gonna put in the lighter colors on the teddy bear on the bottoms of his feet, the belly and the nose, the snout, and then putting in a kind of mid-tone blue for the rest of the teddy bear body. And now I'm just reestablishing the lighter of the two light blue tones, and now I'm putting in the darker of the light blue tones. And I think adding a little bit of texture, but not being too concerned about having it be as realistic as the puppy in terms of fur texture works out fine. Since this is a toy, it doesn't need to be as kind of realistic as the cartoon puppy. Now I'm going back in and reestablishing those darker areas again because I didn't want it to be bleached out. I think having that full range of really light to really darker shades helps give a more three-dimensional look to Copic coloring. I want to repeat that blue again, so I'm using the lighter two blue colors for the teacup, and I'm just blending it out, keeping a highlight area in the front. And now I've decided, since the dog is kind of in this yellow tone, I decide I'm going to make the tissues a little yellower and also the little tea bag. Repeating these colors over and over throughout the image and throughout the card, I think really helps give a sense of continuity. I'm also using a couple more browns for the tea. I want it to be a rich color and have kind of that shading in that teacup as well. So I used 2 of those earth tone colors. Now for the slippers, I wanted to go a darker blue. I wanted it to coordinate with the teddy bear but not be matchy-matchy. So I'm gonna add some blue tones that are a little bit lighter. I do bring in the B12, which I had used on the teddy bear for the lightest areas, just to add enough contrast. But now I'm gonna go in with this really dark blue. This is a B39, which I love. It's like a Prussian blue, and it's so rich and thick, and I'm just doing little tiny flick marks to give the sense of a furry slipper. Now I'm going back in with a mid-tone, but still dark blue. I think this is called Antwerp, and I'm just going back in and adding a little bit of shading, bridging the areas between the lightest and the darkest parts of these little fuzzy slippers as well. Now for the tissue box, I wanted to repeat that dark blue again, so I'm coloring up the tissue box, and it's looking okay, but I need it to be a little bit more contrasty, if that's a word. So I add that dark blue again and then try to blend it out, but it's starting to look a little bit flat to me. So as I think about that, I decide I'm going to move on to the pillow, and I'm going to make the inside pillow look like it's a dark blue and light blue stripe, just a little peeking out there, and then I'm going to add some dimension to the actual pillow itself by using some pale warm grays. And I'm using, I believe, a W0 and a W1 just to add a little bit of dimension. And then I decide to tone down the yellow of the tissue and of the tea bag by adding that really pale warm gray to that as well. So at this point I decide maybe adding a pattern to the tissue box will help it stand out a little bit more rather than it looking so flat to me. But I kind of overdo it. I add too many dots, and I'm not liking how this is looking, but I'm not stopping either. So I decided, no, afterwards I can paper piece this. I use a cool gray, the C1, to shade in the corners of that tissue box, and I've stamped it all out onto this plaid blue paper. It's just a little scrap in my scrap box that was from a My Mind's Eye Moments paper pad. It's a 6x6, and I just love this color combination. Well, blue is my favorite color, so adding this to the scene I think will help. So I'm fussy cutting it out, and then I'm going to ink the edges with a Memento Tuxedo Black marker. I really like using this marker because it doesn't seep into the paper too much, and I like the finished edge look of it. And then I'm going to glue it into place using my art glitter glue with a fine tip nozzle. And that, I think, will help finish off the little scene so that it looks clean and crisp. When I assembled the card, I did add a shadow underneath the puppy so that it looked like he was lying on a ground or floor. And when I glued him onto that stitch rectangle, I glued the lower part of him, but I did pop up his slippers and his raised paw up on double-sided foam adhesive just to add a little dimension and interest. And that's the completed card. I hope you enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day.